The only reason I live in New York is because my parents immigrated here over 30 years ago. I gotta say, out of all the places to grow up, this is a pretty cool one. I've been to other parts of America where I was the only Asian person and I was like, this is not for me. It was fun visiting, but I would never want to live there, you know? I definitely prefer living somewhere where there's much more diversity because I don't want to be around just Asian people all the time either. I want to be around all kinds of people. That's definitely one of the best parts about New York is that even though if you are different, you don't feel it because everyone here doesn't really care if you're different because everyone's different. I think New York can be a really safe place for people, especially since there are many other parts of the world where being different can be dangerous. There are also a lot of people here who are not that great. Fake people, very entitled, condescending people. I always recommend keeping a low overhead. Lower cost of living equals more money to do stuff, more freedom, more options. It's easier to change jobs if you needed to indulge, to go hang out. You'll also find that a lot of New Yorkers don't live in Manhattan either. Plus, if you are in the city, you're probably gonna end up spending much more money because temptation is all around you and things in the city are more expensive. Because further out, things become more affordable, not just housing, but things to do and food. When I was working, I would sometimes overhear guests complain about how much they didn't want to go back to their apartment because of how small it was or because of their roommate. I think if you don't like your living situation, especially here in New York, it will end up costing you more money because you're gonna be spending money out because of how much you don't want to be at home. Like one of the easiest ways to save money in New York is just not to go out. Living alone is definitely going to cost you more. So if you can find a roommate who is clean, responsible, proactive, with good boundaries, hold on to them. Because I know some people out there don't have that experience and have some shitty ass roommates. So if you really value convenience, then perhaps living closer to your job is going to be a major factor for you because rush hour does suck. That's one thing I definitely loved about bartending was that I never had to get on the train at that hour. Then I would get out of work pretty late, so I'd have to take the train late at night. So that was the trade-off, and that's definitely something I don't miss. Also, not all trains are created equal. Some trains are much more reliable than others. Some have a lot of construction during the weekend. I swear, weekend trains be messing you up. So I highly recommend researching the train you're gonna be near. Do not be surprised to encounter rodents or cockroaches either, because those fancy places that I worked at, they got them too. I never worked anywhere where it was like crazy or disgusting, nothing like that. Those places too would have super strict cleaning policies. It's just inevitable because they're everywhere. There are more of them than there are of us. And the garbage, oh my God, there's so much garbage when you work at a restaurant. I probably would recommend you not live near a restaurant because they are always putting out garbage of food waste and stuff. Since you will likely not have a car, carrying stuff is gonna be your life now. No putting stuff in the car, and that's honestly probably one of the best parts about having a car is not having to carry shit all the time. When you're looking for places to live, highly recommend trying to find one near a supermarket because carrying all that crap is gonna get annoying if you live really far from one. I have seen people grocery shop and then take a cab afterwards, or some people get their groceries delivered, but all those are conveniences that cost money. Laundry also gets pretty heavy, so you gotta think about that too. Air conditioning, I highly recommend investing in air conditioning. If you're gonna live here for a long period of time, get an air conditioner. Do not be cheap about that. It gets so hot here. It can be very difficult sleeping in that kind of heat. So I don't know. I just think people, you deserve it. You deserve the air conditioning. Do it for yourself. It will really help you mentally. This is why I recommend living below your means, no matter how much money you make, because being able to stack money is gonna really help you for all the times that life does not work out the way you thought it was gonna work out, which is like all the time. If you hate driving, this is the place for you. Because people would tell me like how much they love New York because they didn't have to drive here. And I didn't really understand until I visited other parts of America. And I was like, wow, you really need a car, because I'll be walking for like 20 minutes and I still haven't gotten anywhere. I definitely have been spoiled with public transportation. It is so nice not having to need a car to go places. But again, like you gotta be really aware when you're on the train. Of course, there are definitely some not so great people on it, but there are also some good people out there too. Plus, if you did have a car, you have to think about the parking, which costs money, on top of the car that costs money. Although taking the train is more affordable, you'd be surprised at how fast $275 can add up, especially if you're doing a lot of rides. I highly recommend utilizing transfers. New York has buses everywhere, and they can get you places where subways can't. Depending on where you are and which bus you take, some are definitely better than others, but it's definitely an underrated resource when it comes to commuting here.
I'm so impressed when tourists know how to use the bus, because there's some New Yorkers who don't even use the bus here.
If you go out and drink, you're also gonna have to factor in Ubers. It's always worth it to take the Uber. If you can't take the subway, you're not sober enough to. You also, like, sometimes you feel like you're fine and then you get on the subway and you're like, I am not fine. I have always thought it was worth it to take the Uber, especially because I don't really have the best tolerance about alcohol and it can be a fine line for me. But if it starts happening a lot, either you gotta hone in on your drinking, not drink as much, not go out as much. Like, you gotta figure out something, because all the time is really gonna add up, especially Ubers, like during certain time periods, it's more expensive. I personally don't really take the train super late anymore. And if I did, I would stick to wherever there's the most people. Try not to sit anywhere where there's nobody. Like, no, you want eyes everywhere. Witnesses. Biking is also pretty big here, but you gotta make sure you have a good lock or like security system. People definitely steal. That's something I've heard from other cyclists. Electric scooters are also super popular. Those look so fun, but I wouldn't want to like carry it everywhere. That's like, seems annoying.
You can also take the ferry. I forgot about that.
Walking is pretty big here, which is also my personal favorite. Definitely invest in a comfortable pair of shoes, especially if you're gonna be running around a lot. Highly recommend good shoes. I feel like the only time I really see people wearing heels like that is when they wanna go out for the night. But if you're just like running around town, don't do that to your feet.
Whenever my feet are uncomfortable, it's really hard for me to get stuff done in a good mood.
Yo, some New Yorkers here have a great sneaker game. Just like with the driving here, the walking here is very like aggressive. You know, you gotta keep up or else get out of the way, all right? There's a lot of opportunity here, but competition can be very high, especially since some people are willing to do things that you might not necessarily do. People really get a leg up from that shit, like kissing ass and like throwing people under the bus. Employers are most likely going to take advantage of you because they know you need the money and you might stay even though you hate it. I had options though. I live with my family, so I was able to quit, but it has always been very difficult for me to like stay at a job that I really hated. I don't know, I'm not cut out for that. I would try too, but it would just get too much for me, and I'm glad I had the option to be able to say I quit. I don't want to do this. No, some people can't do that, but if you can, I highly recommend it. It's so crazy how much better you feel when you leave that place. New York is definitely spoiled in this category. There is so much to do here, and it doesn't always necessarily cost money. I think that's why there are a lot of free things in New York, is because they know how expensive it is and they need to keep, you know, our spirits alive. Places also stay open late, because I've been to other countries where things closed at like 7, 8 o'clock. Nothing would be open on Sundays, and I was like, what is this? I did not realize like how spoiled I was. I personally love all the museums. That's my favorite part. I don't know if I could live somewhere without art museums. I'd be so sad. They have galleries here too. It's a really fun city, especially if you like feeling fancy, because the people here have really nice style, and it's not uncommon to look dressed up. The food scene here is amazing. There's so many options, and like I like that. I like being able to try all these different kinds of foods. If you're somebody who really enjoys going out, the nightlife here is really fun, but can definitely add up. There have been times where I've worked somewhere and someone will order something and I'll ring it up on the POS and I'll be like, oh my God, that's how much this costs. Some things are definitely totally overpriced for what they are, but that's just a bullet you have to bite. I think this can be a very wonderful place to live if you have the means to do so. You gotta be smart, otherwise it's gonna be very difficult. I think people underestimate how expensive it is and how much of a grind it can be, and not understand the toll that can take on you. My life would be so much easier if I did finance or like one of those types of jobs, right? But that's not who I am. There are a lot of us here who that was not our path. We are meant to do something different, and because of that, our path is a little bit more harder. Recommend you start low and slowly upgrade and upgrade and upgrade, but don't start high. No. I think sometimes we want to rush to like adulthood and being an adult and like just having everything together. But a lot of adults don't have their shit together. This isn't the easiest place to live, but it can be a fun place to live, and it can be worth it, but you gotta be smart. You gotta be smart. Don't throw your money away. It's shit you don't fucking need, all right? But yeah, until next time, I'll see you. Bye.